Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. We're excited to bring to you a new episode today and a new interview. We're going in a little bit of a different direction. But my name is Clint.
And I'm Jacob.
As always, we're coming to you from the home of the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast in the St. Pete District Studios, downtown Mansfield. St. Pete District Studios is a full-service recording studio that can meet any of your recording needs. Rob will get you in and get you taken care of. Rock and roll, gospel, jazz, opera, heavy metal, you name it, they'll record it. Even commercial or podcast needs. Rob has clearly made major improvements to the sound of the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast, and we want to share that with you as well. So for booking, email Rob at robinrecorder@gmail.com or find them on Facebook at St. Pete District Studios. And this week, we're going to talk a little bit about late models. We have a race coming up here in Mansfield Motor Speedway on August 22nd, 23rd, 24th, another 3-day event called the Dirt Million with a brand new, it's not brand new, this is the second year, but it's a little bit different format. This is a Lucas Oil late model sanctioned event, and the format has an online content. Jacob, have you been able to check out the website for the Dirt Million yet?
I was actually kind of strolling through the driver's list as we were interviewing Chris and just kind of seeing what all new stuff there was. So as always, Cody and Jacob are ahead of the game, and they always are thinking of the new ideas.
So on that website, as Jacob just mentioned, you see the list of drivers that are going to be participating, and you can find ways to support them. You can buy them a can of gas, you can buy them tires, you can buy their pit pass, and help them increase their chances and drive the purse money up. That's the whole concept behind the Dirt Million, is to through every ticket that's sold, every pit pass that's sold, every camping that's reserved, it's driving the purse up so that the winner can take home as much money as possible. So having said all that, we will address a little bit of that in this interview. On the phone this week, we were able to talk to Mr. Chris Ferguson, who drives the Live Oak 22 car out of North Carolina. And without further ado, we'll dive right into our interview this week with Chris Fergy Time Ferguson. All right, we're here on the phone on this wonderful Wednesday in Ohio with Mr. Chris Ferguson, all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. We appreciate you joining us here on the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast to talk about your upcoming trip to Ohio to participate in the Dirt Million. And we just want to mention that, like we were talking offline here a minute ago, we spent a lot of time talking about sprint cars because sprint cars dominate the dirt tracks in Ohio. That's mostly what we have. We do have a late model presence. We do have a racing truck presence, but we've got some huge events that occur in Ohio with late models, and you've made multiple trips. I've seen you here quite a few times over the last few years, and specifically you're coming up here for the Dirt Million, and we're excited to see you. So I want to introduce you to our sprint car fans who have been listening, and welcome the late model fans who are tuning in because they saw your name on the social media post. So for those who don't know much about Chris Ferguson or don't know Chris Ferguson, Chris, tell us where you got started, how you got started in dirt track racing in North Carolina.
Yeah, I naturally, being from the Southeast, dirt go-kart racing was pretty big. So, when I was 12 years old, my dad actually raced himself, and he got out of it. And my grandpa raced, and uncles raced, all dirt track, stock car stuff. Well, we got into go-kart racing and did that for a couple years, and then the next step, being from Charlotte, was either getting into an asphalt late model or a dirt late model. And when I was 16, my dad went and did a little research and decided the dirt late model route was a little more affordable and actually paid a little bit more to win than the asphalt stuff did. So we got a really good car. Our first car was a Steve Francis Rocket, and for 2 or 3 years there, we raced kind of locally in the North Carolina, South Carolina, and really kind of sharpened our edge and got pretty good around here. And from there we just started traveling a little bit more and got some big opportunities over the years. And 10, 15 years later, here we are, and we're racing super late models everywhere we can go.
So you've been on and off the road quite a bit. I've I've been here in Ohio for the last 8 years, and I've been following you on social media. You've been from Florida to Ohio and a little bit west. How much has the traveling grown over those last 8 years? I know you did a little bit on the Lucas Oil tour, the beginning of the tour a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, we've kind of limited ourselves. We've when I first got into supers back in 2009, we would run some big races. We'd come to Eldora for the big ones just because that was the thing to do, but we would stay around home. And then gradually over the years, we started going to bigger races, and we'd go to the Dirt Track World Championship, into the Dirt Million for the first year, the Firecracker 100. And I'd say over the last probably 4 to 5 years, we've really, even though I haven't ran a full-on national tour, we've ran multiple, I'd say upward 20 races on Lucas Oil and World of Outlaw a year, running their special events that come anywhere within 4 or 5 hours of us. But, also we have a bunch of 5,000-10,000 wind shows around home. So, but the last probably 2 or 3 years, we've really been traveling. We've been, going to Lernerville, going to Illinois, to Fairbury, to, like I said, Portsmouth. We went up to Muskingum and got rained out the other week. And just as we've gotten better as a team and as we've gotten more funding and more, more help and also a little more experience behind the steering wheel, the natural thing to do was to start running bigger races. And with time, we've started running better in these big races. We ran fourth at the Dream this year, and I've been good at Eldora before, but I've kind of struggled in the features and stuff. And the experience is really starting to show now, I think, in these big races, and that's why we're starting to run more of them.
So you mentioned Eldora, you mentioned Mansfield. Are there what other Ohio tracks have you ran?
We've ran Portsmouth. We ran the Dirt Track World Championships for, I guess, 2 or 3 years in a row now, and ran pretty good at them. And we went to Muskingum, got rained out, which we made it there just in time to see the track. I'm trying to think. We went to Wayne County one year last year and ran, I think, 6th or 7th at the World of Outlaws race. And we've been to a handful of them. Oh, we went to Atomic and last year at the World of Outlaw race and sat on the pole, and I think we ran 5th. We've been to a bunch of tracks up there, not a ton, but a bunch of the late model tracks, that's had big races or World of Outlaw races. We try to go to all the Lucas or World of Outlaw races that we can up there.
I think that's all the notable tracks that do run those larger late model races. Can you think of any others, Jacob?
Oakshade up in Wafion. I think they do the Hell Tour finale every year. So they tend to have some bigger shows, I think.
Jacob, did you have a question about specifically racing in Ohio?
I do, but first I want to talk about your season. I'm looking at your mid-season update right now, and it looks like, Chris, you've had a pretty solid year. Even with those big races, it seems like you're doing your best with those one of those big races come around.
From the outside looking in, it doesn't really look that good because we've had some DNFs and some motor issues that people always hear about. And of course, as you guys know, those happen when you're running the best. So you can go run 50 laps in a row and not break nothing and run dead last. But when you're leading a race, that's whenever something's going to fail. But it's been a good year. We've ran 200 lappers, ran the Lernerville and ran 8th for the Firecracker 100 and 4th at the Dream. But really, the big thing for us was all the Lucas and World of Outlaw races. We've been in contention and been right around the top 10 and contending for heat wins and winning heat races and just being up front. And even though I haven't run but 20-something races, we've been up front in a lot of them. And not just that, but they've all been big races. So compared to Bobby Pierce's 60 races, it probably don't look that great. But just to, show up as often or as little as we do and still be as competitive. It's something that, we're proud of so far this year.
And you mentioned Bobby Pierce. We know Bobby's one of the top guys out racing late models. Who would you say is your toughest competition, either racing locally or when you get on the World of Outlaw or Lucas Oil shows?
Davenport's always comes to mind because Jonathan is from the same, he's from Georgia, but we've raced with him for the last 10 years. So, Jonathan Davenport and Chris Madden are probably my two, as far as not local, but the guys from this area that no matter what race we're at, if it's anywhere within 6 hours of home, those two guys are going to be tough to beat. And then, as far as, in the country, you got guys like Brandon Shepard that every time he lines up, he's going to be the one to beat right now. And then the same thing with, anywhere you go in the Midwest, Bobby's always going to be good. And there's a handful of them, man. There's really those three are always tough to beat no matter what, but then there's probably 10 more that can win any night, anywhere in the country.
So you mentioned your history at Eldora. Is this 3 World 100s that you've ran? 4?
Yes, sir. 3 of them, yeah.
So in 2015 at the World 100, if I remember correctly, did you achieve something there that was pretty notable? Do you remember?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Breaking that track record was really cool. It's notable as or as prestigious as Eldora is in all of really dirt track racing, but specifically the World 100 for dirt late model racing. To be able to say I was the fastest person to ever go around that track, even though it doesn't pay nothing to do that, that's a really cool feat, to say the least. It's kind of like, to me, in my mind, there's things outside of winning races that are always cool to hear about. And as a sprint fan myself, the sub 10-second lap by Sammy Swindell at Bristol on dirt still sticks out in my mind. And that's something that it kind of, it feels like to me like, man, such a prestigious place like Eldora, to go up there and break a track record that was, to be able to say I was the fastest person that in a dirt late model would ever go around there. It's just really cool. And really, it was a bright spot in a lot of downs and at Eldora for my history there.
So you'd been to Eldora a few times before that?
Yeah, we've been, on and off for a couple of years, just making the show in 11, missing it, and, 12, barely missing it, and just stupid stuff on and off over the years, and then finally seeing everything, seeing the experience, and knowing what to expect when you come back. It's like, for me, it's been night and day difference.
I was there in 15 when you broke the track record, and I was there this year where if I believe you finished in the top 5 of every race you ran at the World 100 this year. Is that right? Every heat race and the feature?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we were in we didn't run no B mains. We made it in through the heats all 3 nights. And really just like the first night we ran 4th from, I think we started 12th or somewhere right around there. The second night we ran 2nd, and the last night we ran 4th. And we just had a great weekend. We put it all together. And if I wouldn't have had to start so far back in the feature, and a lot of people don't know this, but, I blew up in the 100 lapper, but it wasn't, we basically lost a cylinder. So it wasn't really bad because the track was really slick. So anytime you can detune a motor, it doesn't hurt it in that situation. But, I'd love, anytime you can see the front at Eldora and you don't win, you just feel like you don't know if you'll ever get that opportunity again. So I would have loved to just made a few little adjustments and had the race go a little bit differently. And I would have, because